All right, it's time for a .NET 6 Blazor Power Hour. This is the first time we've actually had the full .NET 6 framework available to us to do one of these. We've been on preview for quite some time, but now we've got the real bits, and this, I think, is the first time everything's been working quite properly as well. I've got a example of hot reload actually working for a change. I know it's been one of those things that's been worked on for a while, and the bugs are starting to get flushed out, so that's good to see. So today we're going to talk about the head content tag or component in Blazor, and we're going to do some pretty neat tricks with this thing. I think it's going to surprise some folks to how amazing and easy this is to do. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to create a brand new project. So we're going with no pre-written bits today. We're just going to do this right out of the box. I'm going to start with a Blazor WebAssembly application. Brand new one. Brand new WebAssembly app. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Let's call this head content sample. And I'm going to hit next here. I'm not going to do a hosted app. It doesn't really matter. This is going to work in Blazor server, Blazor hosted. Some of the code may change ever so slightly. We can talk about exactly what that is in just a moment. I'll hit create. So depending on how you deploy this, there may be a different location as to where the code needs to go. But other than that, it's going to be pretty much the same. Let's look at our brand new solution here. This is just a basic WebAssembly app. We've got the project, no server. No server this time. Again, we could do this with pre-rendering. We could do this with server. Some things may change ever so slightly. No shared. We're just going with standard WebAssembly. So if we look at the WebAssembly application, it's changed a little bit since .NET 5. We have control over the page title and the head content now. And we're going to do some fun tricks here. All right, so the page title part, let's talk about this for a minute. And let's look at where the code for these things actually lives or where they get emitted. I'm going to open up my www root folder. And let me see if I can find an article here that accompanies this very well. I had it up on my tabs here earlier. Shouldn't be too hard to find. Give me 1 second. I know I've got it right here. If I need to, I can search through my history and find it. All right, maybe I don't have it. We have a great blog post on blogs.telerik.com for this. And as soon as I find it, I will direct you all to it. But this article I'm trying to find goes through and, okay, my browser's not even going to navigate. There we go. Wow, that took a while. I don't know if I'm having internet problems or what. Let me know if the stream is coming through okay. That was awfully delayed there. See if we can find the meta tag article. Here it is. There we go. So this is a great post that we have up on blogs.telerik.com. I'll post that in chat for everybody. And this will dive through the different ways that the title and metadata component are used on with server-side rendering as well as WebAssembly. So we'll jump back into this when we need it. First thing I want to show you is where this code will live on WebAssembly. So let's jump over to the www root folder. So when we control our title and our head in Timebender 360, welcome to the Blazor Power Hour. When we control our head and our title It's going to be done through the index HTML page. If you're running a .NET 5 app, you may need to update some of your code to make this work. But essentially, we are going to control this section of our app. Now, normally in a Blazor application, all of our code lives here in the body inside this div with an ID of app. In older Blazor apps, this may be just app. It's an element that's called app. This was changed in .NET 6. It is now ID. Actually, things changed in .NET 5, but in the current version, it is ID equals app. That is where our app lives. It does not live up here in the head. Therefore, it doesn't have any way to modify the rendering until now. We're going to jump over to Program CS. And in Program CS, you will see that there is now a new root component that has been added called head outlet. And that head outlet gets injected to head with the pseudo selector after. So what this is saying is head after is going to be here. Let's zoom in a little bit and we'll annotate. We'll say head : after is going to be rendered right about here. So this selector is selecting the head tag, and we want to render after the last child element. So it will get injected here. Now on Blazor on server, this is going to be slightly different. You're going to have a component called type of head outlet. And then you will have a WebAssembly pre-rendered or a server pre-rendered after it. And that will look like this, and it will be in your CSHTML file. So it will look like this, line number 12. That is if you're rendering from the server. We're rendering from WebAssembly, so we're not going to have that. Instead, it is defined in Program CS under line 7 on this head after head outlet root component. So the root component will inject things into the head for us. It will do this gracefully. If you try to write this code yourself with JavaScript, it gets a little bit tricky. The head tag doesn't like to be modified at runtime, and things get a little bit awkward. But they overcame this with the code that is included here. So it's all out of the box. We don't have to do anything. This is ready for us to just utilize with File New Project. You might need to migrate some things from .NET 5 to get this just right, but it's not too complex. It's pretty much just adding this root component to your program CS if you're on WebAssembly. All right, so back to index.razor. You see we have a page title component. That is going to render a page title in that head block that I just showed you. Let me move this out of the way, and we'll do a little side-by-side here. Show you exactly where this stuff shows up. And if any of this is kind of a repeat of something you already know, don't worry, stick around. We're going to do some fun stuff here. We just need to know the basics first. So let me split this screen up again. Let's do it horizontally this time so we can see a little bit better, because what we're really paying attention to here is this head tag. Let me move this down out of the way. We'll zoom in a little bit more here so you can see a little better. So we've got our head, our metadata, and then at the very bottom here, notice that's where the title is on the index page. If we look here, there's no title, right? There's no title in this side. There's a title on the last element there. So that's where that header outlet is being rendered, right there at the bottom, the last element off the head. Now, if we add more things to our head tag, they will show up at the bottom. They always show up at the bottom. We could change our selector if we wanted to render them in a different location. We could come into Program CS. We could change the head outlet to be before, for example, it would show at the very top. I would recommend just leaving it the way it is, but if for some reason you needed to change that selector, you can, and change the location in which that renders. Now, let's add something else to this metadata here. If we wanted to just have the page title, that is fine. That is going to control up here at the top where the tab says index. We could change that. Let's go ahead and change that to 1 here. And let's see, hot reload is working. So you can see index is 1. If we wanted to add other data, though, we need a header or head content component. And then in here, we can inject different head content. Things that you find in head content are these meta tags. So meta tags can do quite a bit of different things. A lot of times you see these control like the preview content. Like if you're going to share a link on Twitter, sometimes you share a link and it comes up with that nice little image and stuff like that. You can control those things through the meta tag. Meta tags are also helpful for SEO. There's a lot of different meta tags that are useful for SEO. This is actually a really good website to check for information on SEO. This Moz website, really good reads here. There are meta tags that control like the description of the page, for example. And again, these are things that services like Twitter and Facebook pick up when you're embedding content in those services. There is a lot of different things here that you can do. There's languages, geography, these geo positions. Um, there are keywords to help with search engine optimization as well. Lots of different things. And then they list the bad meta tags, things that you probably don't want to put in your head of your application. The big ones are usually the social graph meta tags. They give a really good example here of where these show up on Twitter. I was mentioning this before, like publisher shows up here, title shows up there. They do a really excellent job of outlining it. Each service may have some different ones. There's different types of schemas, I guess you could say. There's Open Graph. There's Twitter. I believe there is a Facebook one as well, unless they're the ones that are using Open Graph. I cannot remember off the top of my head which ones go to which, but these are all things you can add to your content, and you would do that if you wanted to add, let's say, for example, this Twitter card. Let's just grab some of the metadata from it. You'd put that inside of your head tag here, and you would change the values as you see fit. We may need to put a different publisher handle on, or an escape code on this publisher handle, but this would be essentially your Twitter handle, something like that. So you can identify these meta values here. We'll apply those changes, go back to our page. We scroll down to the bottom. Notice there's all of our meta tags for Twitter. If we were to share this page to Twitter, it would have these descriptions and things already applied. So we can help provide extra data to those services. So that's cool stuff. Let's have some fun with this though. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's point something else out first. One more thing. One more thing that's very pertinent here. So we've talked about where the meta tag gets rendered. We can see it again here at the bottom of the page. Watch when I navigate to the counter component, that metadata stayed with index page. So now if I scroll down here, that metadata is gone. Okay, metadata is not there anymore. I'm not on the head tag. There it is. We just have the title of counter, because if we go to the counter page, that is all that is there on the counter page is this page title. We don't have a head content. These are on a per component basis. So if we want this head content to be consistent through multiple pages, it needs to be up in the hierarchy of those components. So for example, if I wanted um, some Twitter head content or something else to appear on all pages, I have two choices. I could put it directly in the head itself. Okay. I could put it here. That is like the utmost root component or root document of the site. This will definitely apply to every place in the document, just as these tags are applied everywhere. If I want to do this programmatically, I could go to my main layout and I could use the head component in my main layout. Head content here, and anything I show in the head content on my main layout, since all components are using the main layout, they will inherit or render, not inherit, that's probably a bad word to use here. It's not really inheritance, but they are in the render tree along with the main layout. They're rendered inside of it. So the head content will show up for all of those. It's important to know because we're about to do something where we need to use this. So let's back up a step. We'll take this head content tag out of main Razor. We'll go back to index.razor. We've taken it out of there. We don't need that open anymore or that. Let's do a little tab bankruptcy here. Let's pull these out. We'll keep main open and index open. How about that? I want to show a fun trick that I've showed on the show, like probably more than I'd like to admit, but we're going to do a theme switcher. We've done theme switchers before, but we've had to use JavaScript before. Because of that head section of our application, we had to use JavaScript to come in here and basically create an HTML or a link tag, specify the theme that we need to render, and then through code, go back and rip this link out, make changes to it. It's not a lot of JavaScript. It's probably 20 lines of JavaScript. Then we have to use JavaScript interop. Oh my gosh, I am sorry. Somebody finally pointed this out. How long have I been with my big face on the screen and nobody's told me? Thank you so much for that comment. I was just going on and on. Everybody's letting me talk. Nobody stopped me to tell me that I wasn't sharing my screen properly. Ouch. All right. So now you can actually see what I'm talking about. We are going to do this. I guess I was explaining things well. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But yeah, not great. So in the head tag, we're going to do this without JavaScript now. So let's show a little example first in, well, the first thing we need to figure out where, let's make this nice and big. We need to figure out where our style sheet will go if we want to change from a light theme to a dark theme. We're going to have to modify this a little bit. We've got 3 style sheet tags here. We've got bootstrap min, we've got app CSS, we've got head content sample. This is the name of the app. This is the isolated CSS that gets compiled at compilation time. So these are component styles. If we want to swap themes, we're going to have to make sure it shows up in the right location. We're going to want to swap this bootstrap theme with something else. And it's kind of up at the top, and the order here matters a lot. Yeah, it does. So there are things in app CSS that either require this style sheet or override it. And then these tend to override all of these styles even more. So the specificity matters. So we need to make sure we emit these in the right locations, because again, we're going to be dealing with this section here. So here's where the content, the head content tag, it's written out. That's where it renders. So these need to go, if we're going to add something below these, it may not, well, actually, we need to render this one in this location. If these are up here, this is going to be a problem. So we need to actually take these along for the ride and cut all of these out and take them to our main layout. Actually, we'll start on index because I want to show something on index here too. We'll drop a head content here on index, and we will save, let that reload. I don't think I have it. There we go. There, now it's on screen. We may actually need to. Oh, now it's going to play funny business. Let's see. What did I do to make the demo gods angry? Because I know this should work. Oh, we're on the counter page. So that actually was something I wanted to share. So we're on the counter page. So this is going to cause issues because remember, these are unique to the page, and also the bootstrap is in the wrong place. So we want that to be there. And then if we go back, there, now we're okay. If we go to the counter page, we're going to lose all styling because remember, these are page specific tags. They get cleared out when we navigate to other pages. So we don't want this in index.razor. We want this on main layout.razor. So it will affect all the pages in the layout. It doesn't really matter if we put these below the code or above it, wherever you feel it's more comfortable to define it. It's okay. It will render in the proper location no matter where the markup is. So now if I change between components, route to different components, you can see we still have those meta tags on all pages now. So there's step one. We need to make sure this is in the main layout because it's going to affect everything because it's a style sheet. The next thing we want to do, we want to move this tag around. We want to take and hot swap this guy out. What we want to do here, let's bring in some style sheets. I grabbed these from Bootswatch. Bootswatch is a place with some decent bootstrap themes. If you want to just do some quick prototyping and stuff, there are free to download bootstrap themes here. I grabbed, that's a really cool one. There's always some new stuff on here as well, and quite a bit of it. So I grabbed Darkly and Flatly. These are actually two of the same theme. One is a light mode and one is a dark mode. You see it says Flatly in night mode, and this is Flatly. So they're both the same, but one is dark. So I'm going to grab those. I have those on disk already. I'm going to put them in my CSS Bootstrap folder. So I'm going to go over to my file manager here, and we'll just move this over a little bit. I guess the app, is it still running? It shouldn't be running. I should be able to just copy and paste. There we go. And I'm going to delete the main Bootstrap file. I don't need that anymore. I do, however, need to change this one. And let's see what the dark theme looks like. So we'll look at darkly min.css. We'll go back to our app. It should be, all right, it's an error has occurred. So let's give this a rerun here, rebuild. I've got this running. Let's go ahead and close that. And we'll reapply this. And the build is a little bit slow for some reason. I don't know what's hanging it up, but oh, there it is. So there's our dark theme. Now this bar up top is probably styled from a component level style. So if we go in, this is one thing I don't like about CSS isolation, the way it's handled out of the box, is it can do some things like this. If we look at main layout, the top row background color is hard coded here. So that's not going to change because it's not part of the main theme. So we'd want to do some theme variables or something like that in that. So let's double check this piece here. Let's see if I've got the right tag. This is top row, and I said it was top row. Yep. So what we can do here is give it like a transparent background or something. See if that helps. Yep, that did the trick. So now it's falling in line, and then we could use variables as well in a scenario like that, but we won't get into that today. Now let's switch this out. Let's look at flatly, and IntelliSense is just going bananas here. Flat e dot min dot css, and it seems to want to throw an error when we do the hot reloading on that. Hot reload does not like the head tag so much. But this is what it looks like with the light theme on it. So if we can change out this link here, we should be good with changing out the theme for the entire app. So how can we do that? We can go side by side again so we can see this. What we want to change is this from flatly to darkly, and we'll get, there we go. Our reload worked that time. So we've got the two themes now, light and dark. So what can we do here? I'm going to bring in a third-party component. This is something, if you've watched the show before, you might have seen me talk about. This is a pet project of mine. So I'm going to go into NuGet, and I'm going to grab Blazor size. And you might be thinking, oh, Blazor size has everything to do with the size of the screen. What does that have to do with themes? Well, I'll show you. So we got Blazor Pro, Blazor size. We'll install that. So now we have Blazor size. We need to go into our application. I'm going to go over to Program CS, and we need to add a service. So I'm going to say builder, not root component, services, add, need a using statement here so we can get the IntelliSense for it. Using Blazor Pro, Blazor size. And we want to add the media query service. So we are going to use a media query to find out what the user's preference is for their theme in the application. And why this keeps throwing an error when I'm doing hot reloading, I don't know. We'll go ahead and kill hot reload until we're ready to run the app properly again. And let's go ahead and drop these tabs out of here too. Let's go over to main layout, and we'll bring in the Blazor size media query component. So we need to add a using statement here. We could put this in our imports file as well. I'm only going to use it here though. Like in Blazing Coffee app, can we have a hamburger button to minimize and hide the sidebar? Yes, you can. I think that's already built in technically here. You could do it probably in a more intelligent way, but yes, you could use the media query component for that. So we'll call in Blazor size here. And then we're going to add a media query list. This is a top level parent component that is required for any media query that we run in the application. So in order to have a media query, we have to have a media query list. Now, normally I just place these media query list. You can put them right here, and then I would wrap it around at least the body. So at least the body. So we want to go all the way through here because we're going to need to define some media queries at the top of the page. So we'll drop a media query on the page here. This needs to be a self-closing tag. We don't need any templates. They won't work for this scenario. And then inside this media query, now let's go ahead and adjust the markup a little bit, make sure it's indented properly. And then we need to add a media definition. So this is going to be our quote, what is normally our breakpoint, but there's actually a media query for themes that is built into CSS. And this is going to be preferred. Let's Google it because I'm not going to remember what it is. The user theme is going to be prefers color scheme. I can never remember the proper indentation of the kebab casing here. So we want prefers color scheme. So if we use that prefers color scheme dark, I'll zoom in so we can all take a look. This is going to create a media query that triggers if the color scheme changes from something to dark or dark to something else. There's only really, or there's actually three states to this. There's an undefined state, and there is a light state and a dark state. So you kind of have to pick your default here because there's a tri-state kind of issue here. So what you do is combine either the undefined and dark or the undefined and light by just calling out the one theme that you want to target. I think it's just easiest to say, is it dark? And then handle everything that's not dark. So we'll say not dark, or if it is dark, we'll go ahead and bind to a matched value. And if it's matched, we will say that it is dark. We need to create a code block now to reflect that code. And then we will put in a bool of is dark. Okay. So now we have something that signifies whether this is light or dark. So let's go ahead and do a little quick test here. So I run the dark theme on this. So by default, is dark should be false. We'll go ahead and just throw an h1 tag up here and say is dark, and then render out is dark. And if I run the application, hopefully there we go. So is dark is true. I have a dark theme on my machine. It's picking that up. Remember, a bool initializes as false. So it's definitely picking that up. It has recognized I have a dark theme. So there's step one. We've got the flag that tells us whether we're a dark theme or a light theme. Now we need to change the rendering of this. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll say if is dark, then we want a link that is a dark tag. Any other condition, we want to go ahead and render out light theme. Let's do a quick copy paste there. And we need to say flatly. I'll save this and apply. Remember, I have a dark theme, so this should be correct. How do we test this? Well, I have Windows 11. Doesn't really matter which Windows you have. You can do this either on Windows 10 or Windows 11. You can come into search and just type theme, and it will bring up the theme settings for you. Now, the theme switcher, I think, is quite different in Windows 10. It's going to be a little bit more of a drop-down situation, if I remember. There's like a little box that drops down. This is light or dark. But in here, if I click on a light theme, look at that. It just picked that up automatically. Why is it picking up automatically like that? This is essentially a breakpoint. So when I tell Windows, and this is technically a dark theme here. These are all dark. This is a light. When I click that button, the browser sees a breakpoint being crossed. So it sees that the theme has changed. It triggers an event in Blazor because of Blazor size. So Blazor size is sitting there listening for this media prefers color scheme dark to trigger an event. And when I toggle that theme, it triggers that event, changes the data binding here to matches. And then this link gets swapped between light and dark. And we see the change immediately in the application. Timebender is asking, do I have any issues with Windows 11 for dev work? No. So far, Windows 11 has worked 99% of the time. The 0.1% of the time it has not worked is for these nice Bluetooth earbuds. So there are audio driver issues with Windows 11 that I don't feel like I was having with Windows 10. These issues come up when you are using a Bluetooth device that has a microphone input. Apps like Teams, they see the mic input and they automatically want to use both the microphone and the headset for input and output. And the microphone on earbuds is usually pretty terrible. So I want to use my Yeti microphone for my input and the earbuds for my output. Um, there's a lot of times it keeps getting confused and it keeps switching them. And what it'll do is you won't hear audio and your mic will work, and then you'll try to fix it, and then you'll hear no audio, or it toggles one and not the other. So you either get audio, no mic, or no mic in audio. So that's my beef with Windows 11. It's a very tiny one. And there's also some latency with the Bluetooth as well that I wasn't having in Windows 10. So I think the drivers for Bluetooth just suck on Windows 11 right now. So it's a little bit early to tell what the reason is, but I think it's just bad drivers. Hope that answers your question. As far as dev goes, though, as long as you're not worried about the Bluetooth thing, it's perfect. Um, so we've got the toggle. We've got this toggle in here. We've still got time left, so let's do some more stuff. Let's code some more. And again, remember the order of operations mattered on that one too. I can't just shove these links back in the head. They have to be there as well. So we've got our media query that does its thing. Let's go into our about here. We don't really need an about. Let's put a feature in here. So let's put a label here. Say label for hey, thank you IntelliSense, but no thanks. We are going to say theme auto as the ID, and we'll say auto detect theme because we want people to have, and that's label with yeah, that's not how you spell label. And then we will put an input here of a check box. Type is checkbox. And then on that checkbox, we will go ahead and bind at bind auto nope, value equals IntelliSense again, the double bind. Thank you, but no thank you. This is Visual Studio 2022, and the new Razor editor has a little work left. Yep, a little bit of work left. Say is auto theme. Continue editing. So now what we'll do is we'll bind to another Boolean value. Again, we're writing like no code for this stuff. This is nuts. Is auto theme. And we're going to give the user the ability to detect the theme or just go ahead with the light theme. So what we'll do is we'll say is dark and also is automatic. So if you're not letting this automatically detect, we're going to assume you want the light theme. If you set this to auto and you have the dark theme applied to your machine, then you're going to get the dark theme. Make sense? Go ahead and run that one. And look, I'm on the light theme, but remember, I have a dark theme. You can see it set over here on the left-hand side. I've got a box up here now. If I check it, boom, we're on dark theme because it just detected it. I can turn off that detection. We'll go back to the light theme. If I switch to a light theme, it's still the light theme here because we're auto detecting. Toggle it off. We'll stay on the light theme. Get the idea. So we just gave the users the ability to define what theme they want to use with our app. You could turn that into a nice little switch if you wanted to. There's some nice switch components in Telerik UI for Blazor. There's also a media query component in Telerik UI for Blazor if you wanted to use that. Those are also great. I think there's one in Bootstrap as well, possibly. It's Bootstrap 5 now, so I don't remember which ones are which. But you could pretty that up a little bit if you wanted to. That's the idea there. So if you're using Telerik UI for Blazor, that's an easy win right there. You've got both the media query component. You don't even need Blazor size, and then you've got a switch component right there for you. Um, but yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea. You can easily add this to your app. It just has to be in the right place. One little thing that you might run into an issue with is if your theme detection swapping component is in a different component other than your main layout, you may have to add a service to the application to communicate, state has changed or whatever here. So that might be a thing that you want to tackle. But other than that, this is going to solve your theme swapping problem, and you can make this as pretty or as ugly as you want. I forgot the ID there, but I don't think it's necessary at this point. You get what I'm trying to say. We're good. We've got light and dark swap theme. We talked about um, SEO modifications. If you're not in tune with all of those meta tags, I'd suggest you look them up. There's a lot. It's like a whole thing, guys. Like it's a thing. Like there's so many meta tags for all of the different social media things that if you're sharing your page on social media, you want to take advantage of those meta tags. So take a look at those. Um, there are some for setting the image that shows up, the preview image that shows up, like on Facebook and that. Again, that Moz website is really good. I'll paste these links in again into chat in case you missed them earlier. So there's a really good article up on blogs.telerik.com that talks about the head outlet and how it's worked or how it works. So page title, head content, head outlet. Um, how they work in server side versus WebAssembly and pre-rendering. It's all in there. It's all well laid out in this doc here. Oh, there's some of the meta tags too I was looking for. So you can learn about those there as well. Again, there's ones for image, card, title, all that good stuff. So make sure you put those in your shareable pages. There's our author for that as well. And then this gives you a decent like intro to those tags. Moz.com. They sell SEO stuff, but I've used them for reference from time to time. They have a lot of good docs and things. If you click on Learn, there's a bunch of good info on there. Uh, Thankfully, it's been a long time since I've had to do SEO optimization. We have people here at Progress for that, and God bless them because that's not a job that I want to do. It's tough work. So that's a good research site, though. Prefers color scheme. Drop that one into chat as well. So prefers color scheme. This is a CSS3 feature. It's got good coverage on browsers. Nobody cares about Internet Explorer, especially not Blazor devs. That's old news. If you look at the coverage here, this is across the board. All right, all right. I just said I work with people that do this. Let's not go there. I don't need to make enemies here. I've got friends that do that, but I tend to agree with some of what you're saying. Again, yeah, I've done it before. I don't want to do it again. I'll just leave it at that. So we've got light dark here. I think I misspoke a little bit on the no preference value. It looks like that's not well supported. That's somewhat supported. It is a thing though. So prefers color scheme is the query. No preference is one of the two values that are one of the other values that you get besides light and dark, but only on some browsers. So it's better to just pick one and say dark, but none of the others apply here. That is more true. That is more true. Thank you, Aaron Stanley King. That is the accurate answer here. Not all SEO is snake oil, but a lot of SEO salespeople are selling snake oil. Those two things are not the same. All right. So prefers color scheme. Did I pop that one in chat or no? I can't remember if I pasted it in there or not. can't see my whole chat window to tell. Only got like the last 3 things people said. Okay, I did put it there. All right, I can see it now. Yeah. So this is a good resource for it. It's pretty simple. There's also some other cool ones that you could use along with Blazor size that are worth mentioning while we have a few minutes left. There's prefer color scheme. Prefer contrast is coming. It is not here. It is marked as experimental, but you could add additional high contrast um, CSS style sheets to your application and apply those as well. And prefers contrast. Let's see, it works in Edge and Chrome. We may actually be able to look at that real quick. I'm trying to figure out how I enable this though in Windows. Contrast themes, there we go. So if I enabled a high contrast theme here, let's see if I can do night sky. Apply. Oh, I hope this doesn't crash the stream. All right. Are you still with me, folks? Okay, that one, that scared me. That scared me. Let's see if we can detect this. So let's see if this comes through. If we want to check this very quick and easy, we could go back to the app. Boy, this is fun. I'm sorry if you have to use this high contrast theme. We could put in a media query for it. I'm in high contrast mode. So hopefully this is still coming through on the stream okay. High contrast, we're experimenting now. We're going to grab prefers contrast more. Those are the values we want to see. Prefers contrast more. And then we would bind to yet another Boolean value. So we'd say is contrast. Duplicate that. There we go. Rebuild and apply changes. I have it set to. Oop, I'm not rendering it. I need to come back to the top here, and on the top of the page, I'm just going to drop an H1 tag in and say is contrast. This is a accessibility feature. So if you're able to do this for your users, that is a very cool thing. See if the update applied here. It says is contrast false. So there's some support missing here because I did enable it, but it's either a Windows Chrome issue where it's not being pulled through to the browser to catch that value. Let's make sure I've got that media query right. Prefers contrast more. That should be what I have in there. Let's see if I do inspect on this page, grab the console, and then we say match media. We could query it directly in the browser as well. So this is there's our color scheme. You could say prefers contrast or false. So that is coming back as false. Let's see what the other values are for this. I don't think, yeah, this is a truthy statement here. Pretty sure this feature just isn't working, not supported. Try looking at the docs again for that one. So it's supposed to be supported in Chrome 96. This is hard to actually see under high contrast here what that's supposed to be because they're like red and green, but it doesn't seem to be working. No preference, more and less. So no preference, more and less. So again, it's one of those tri-state type of things. So let's go back to the console. And let's see if it's picking up any of these. Let's try no preference, match false. And that one's false. So you can see what I'm doing in the console is exactly what Blazor Size does behind the scenes. It runs this match media. Blazor Size does it in a way where it attaches an event handler, but you can actually just query it directly if you want to say media query list or match media, and it will create a media query list on the fly and tell you what the result was. These are all coming back false for all of those values. That tells me the browser does not have this implemented, even though the Mozilla site says that it is. I might have to do this in like Canary or something like that to get this to work. And Aaron's sharing a link there as well, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm going to turn this off because I'm having a hard time seeing with this on. So we'll drop that. I don't know if you can hear or see me while this is happening. I'm getting a black screen while that contrast gets cleared out. So I think I'm back. But yeah, um, so far the browser compatibility here. Oh, there we go. That's what it does have an icon here that says that it is a experimental feature. So might need to be running that in a preview mode for that to work. That's another one that you can use in the future. Um, there is yet another one here. Let's see. There's another one in addition to prefers color scheme that does work now. There is prefers reduced motion. So this is one that you can use. This one I think you have to set at the browser level. That actually could have been the issue with the other one. You may have to set the high contrast at the browser, not the OS. No, this one says Firefox is honored. Windows 7, it's under ease of access. Turn off all unnecessary animation. And then if you do that, you run prefers reduced motion. And if you have prefers reduced motion enabled, you can then toggle your animations. This can mostly be done with CSS, but if you wanted to do it with Blazor Size, you can. If you have a component that has a setting that lets you turn animations on and off through a setting, you could do it that way. So there's a lot of interesting things with media queries that aren't necessarily screen size. Web development just got a lot easier. It actually did. Don't be sarcastic about it. These things are really hard if there's no support for them. They're even harder if there's no APIs to do things. You got to try to invent the wheel yourself. So these are all cool things that you can try. Again, we're just using the head content, the media query list, and media query component, and just letting these things work their magic. This used to require JavaScript, so things did get easier. Yeah, the animations can get a little crazy on some of these sites. In the Telerik UI stuff, Kendo UI, Telerik UI, any of them, there is a global setting that you can use. It's in our FAQ section, I think, and it will apply to all components that have animation and turn them all off. So it's a one property setting in CSS, and it's at the CSS level. You don't even need runtime code to do it. It's very, very easy to do. You put the prefers motion media query on the page, and then you target a single selector. I can't remember the name of it, and set the animation value to 0, and it will turn them all off. It's well documented in our docs. Yeah. So you can um, you can choose to do these however you like. So kind of like mobile first, you could do, you know, accessibility first development and add in the animations as they're needed. Yeah, you could expose these through a setting panel. That's a really good idea. Cool stuff, guys. I think that's it for our Blazor Power Hour. I love the chat. These are all good suggestions coming in. People are getting ideas. I think that's a good thing. That means the show had purpose. So people are starting to generate ideas here of settings panels in your apps to toggle themes and start with the basics. Right? Chat has excellent suggestions. Um, start with the base. Start mobile first. Start accessible first. Start light theme first, and then add in the settings for more animation, more theming, and all that stuff. I can make this available on GitHub. I would put it in. I would put it in a Blazor REPL, but I don't think Blazor REPL has control over the head. I don't know if head content works in Blazor REPL, so I'll put it up on a GitHub page or just a gist would probably be easier for this. It's really, I mean, the program CS you might need, I doubt it. All that's in there is the media query service. I'll just throw this. I'll throw it up on a GitHub. I've got let's see, I've got a GitHub page already for this. So we'll do github.com. Let's go ahead and just do it now. I've got that's not how you spell power. Power. Is your Power Hour repo? And we can drop that Blazor Power Hour in here. And there's more than 9. I've done more than 9. I just haven't posted all the code. So I really need to do this more often. So I will put that in that repo. So I'll do that off air. I'll paste the link here to the GitHub, though, so you can find it. And I'll share that within the next hour here. So yeah, I'll put that there. Take care, everybody. And I'll see you next week.